fellow Americans.
The president makes his case for a border wall, declaring a humanitarian and security crisis. His words and the response from Democrats just ahead.
Can the stalled Judge Doyle Square project get back on track? City leaders vote on the issue.
Plus, the reaction tonight after allegations of sexual misconduct at the Wisconsin Air National Guard.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thank you for joining us tonight. In a primetime speech, President Trump sought to convince the public that there is an urgent need for a border wall.
Urgent enough to keep part of the government closed. Mr. Trump's first Oval Office address came 2.5 weeks into that partial shutdown, prompted by the White House's demand for $5.7 billion to pay for a wall. The president did not declare a national emergency over immigration, but said a crisis has developed at the border.
All Americans are hurt by uncontrolled, illegal migration. This is a choice between right and wrong, justice and injustice. This is about whether we fulfill our sacred duty to the American citizens we serve.
Sadly.
President Trump's speech was followed by a response from Democratic leaders. They say they won't negotiate with the White House until the government has been reopened.
President Trump must stop holding the American people hostage, must stop manufacturing a crisis, and must reopen the government.
We don't govern by temper tantrum. No president should pound the table and demand he gets his way, or else the government shuts down.
Now, the president plans to continue campaigning for a wall with a visit to the southern U.S. border Thursday. He also plans to meet with Democratic leaders tomorrow to continue negotiations for local reaction from state lawmakers. We have that on our website, channel3000.com.
Governor Tony Evers says he is working to follow through on campaign promises, signing 2 executive orders on health care today. One directs state agencies to make plans to protect people with pre-existing conditions. The other calls for the Department of Health Services to develop a plan making sure people have access to health care by expanding Medicaid. At an event today in La Crosse, Evers says he also plans to ask Attorney General Josh Kaul to withdraw Wisconsin from a lawsuit to end the federal Affordable Care Act in the near future, but that would require approval from the Republican-controlled legislature. Next at 10, after months of back and forth, city leaders have reached a deal to put the Judge Doyle Square project back on track.
The multi-million-dollar development will now move ahead as planned. Our Keely Arthur live at the City County building now to explain more. Keely?
Well, this has been a long time coming, and with 15 yes votes, the City Council voted to make a deal with Beitler, moving the Judge Doyle Square project ahead once and for all. Now, to refresh everyone's memory, this is a $186 million development that would go in the downtown Madison area, just off the Capitol Square. It would include 3 structures to house a hotel, apartments, retail and office space, and an above ground and underground garage. The project has stalled over disagreements between the city and private developer Beitler Real Estate. Beitler was originally in charge of developing the 3 buildings. The city was in charge of the underground parking structure. Now tonight, the council voted to pay $700,000 to Beitler to take ownership over one of the buildings.
We've been talking about developing these 2 prime downtown blocks for a long time, over a decade now. And so I really do see light at the end of the tunnel tonight.
At one point, Beitler had tried to sue the city over the project, and they later rescinded the lawsuit, but council members used their time tonight to express frustration over Beitler.
I can't vote for this because of the millions expended thus far, and we have nothing to show for it. And the certainty that those millions are just the down payment on what's to come.
Now, the issues with Beitler stemmed over the structural slab that was to go over the city's underground parking garage. Under the new deal, the city will now take that slab over and work with another undecided private developer to develop above the parking garage. Now, Mayor Soglin says this was the best option, and he hopes that this will help prevent any further litigation between Beitler and the city as things move ahead.
All right, Keely Arthur live downtown tonight. Keely, thank you. Also tonight, the city looking at the possibility of expanding Olin Park which would open up an area of shoreline that has been private for more than 60 years. That space currently owned by the Wisconsin Medical Society. However, the space has become too big for the group, so it is now moving. It wants to sell the land, which includes 450 feet of shoreline to the city. The price tag, $5.5 million. Alder Alan Arnson presented the idea to City Council tonight.
I think people recognize that this is a really good thing for the city. You know, people will be interested in, okay, how's it going to be improved along the way, but recognize that that's down the road, and there will be a public process with allowing all sorts of input into it.
And again, it was simply introduced tonight. The resolution would still need to work through the Parks Commission, and then council needs to vote on it. The CEO of the Wisconsin Medical Society says if all goes well, the sale could close in the next month.
Turning things over to weather now, let's check in with meteorologist Dave Caulfield. Hi, Dave.
Well, Charlotte, we're not under a wind advisory anymore, but that doesn't mean the wind is not still kicking outside. We still have gusts of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. You can probably hear it behind me out here on the weather patio. A few snowflakes still falling as well in Madison. The WISC-TV sky cam currently at 21 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. Northwest wind at 13 miles per hour, making it feel like the single digits in Mad City. Doppler track still showing a few flurries out and about, mainly to the south and east of Madison. Those aren't going to cause any problems, but a few snowflakes can't be ruled out. Temperatures right now are in the upper teens and low 20s for the most part, but still with those wind gusts of about 25 to 35 miles per hour, it feels like the single digits, and some of us are already feeling like we're below zero, like in Viroqua at -2, wind chill of 9 in Madison, 14 in Janesville, and 3 in Platteville. Our day planner for tomorrow starting off in the mid-teens. Plenty of sunshine, but that wind is still with us. Highs will be in the low 20s. I'll let you know when some milder temperatures return to the forecast in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Dave, thank you. New tonight, one of the Wisconsin teens convicted in a 2014 stabbing is appealing that decision to be tried as an adult. Morgan Geyser, who is now 16, said she stabbed her 12-year-old classmate because she thought the fictional comic book character Slender Man would kill her family if she didn't. Geyser's attorney filed an appeal in what he calls a criminal justice failure. He said Geyser's admitted motive is proof the case belongs in juvenile court. Geyser and now 17-year-old Anissa Wire were both ordered to mental institutions instead of spending time in jail for that stabbing. A jury trial underway for the Marshall man accused of killing Jesse Faber last year. 60-year-old Daniel Leeske has already pleaded guilty to hiding Faber's body, but says he did not kill him intentionally, and that's what jurors will decide in the coming days. The criminal complaint alleges last January 15th, Leeske shot and killed Faber from Sun Prairie and then moved his body to the storage unit where it was found rolled inside a rug in plastic sheeting. Leeske claims he killed Faber in self-defense.
The number of shots fired reports in 2018 went down compared to 2017. Chief Mike Koval posted in his blog this morning that there was a total of 186 shots fired reports in the city in 2018, representing a 15.5% decrease from the year prior. Also in 2018, 31 people were shot and there were 65 reports of property damage from shots fired. A Racine man and woman convicted of keeping a 9-year-old girl in a cage are both sentenced to probation time today. Dale Devers will be on probation for a year for his role, and Gail Lalonde received 3 years probation. Racine police were able to arrest both of them when the girl told her teacher she was being kept in a cage at night. Both adults said they put her in the cage as punishment. Well, next week will mark 90 days since the disappearance of Jamie Kloss, and investigators are planning to give the public an update on their investigation next Wednesday. The 13-year-old disappeared from her Barron, Wisconsin home on October 15th. Her parents were found shot dead inside the home. Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald says this is still an active case and he will provide as much information as he can without jeopardizing the investigation.
Children's Hospital of Wisconsin in Milwaukee and in the Fox Valley will begin temporarily limiting who can visit patients. Starting tomorrow, no child under 12 will be allowed to visit an inpatient care area due to the flu season. Officials said the policy does not include clinic appointments or emergency care. No word on how long those restrictions will be in place. We are learning more tonight about accusations of sexual assault and harassment within the 115th Fighter Wing Division of the Wisconsin Air National Guard.
Amy Reed joins us now to show us how these allegations are coming to light and how the Guard is responding. Amy?
Yeah, this nearly 2-page letter was sent to TV stations, newspapers, and politicians in Wisconsin. In it are allegations from 17 years ago to just a couple years ago of women being harassed and assaulted and then dismissed when they tried to come forward. Bullying, manipulation, and sexually inappropriate are just a few words a master sergeant with the 115th Security Forces Squadron chose to describe what he saw in his 25 years with the Guard. Like in 2008, when women came forward about being choked and were met with hostility when they tried to report. Or on deployment in 2016 and 17, when a woman came forward to her first sergeant. The writer said the sergeant took several pages of notes and said she'd pass it along to the commander, but it was never spoken of again. In this case, and many of the others, the women left the service. Erin Thornley Parisi, the executive director for the Rape Crisis Center, said she wasn't surprised when she heard about this, but is still frustrated.
These are people who are really trying to do something difficult for our country, and they are having to put up with the same type of sexual harassment and assault that is happening in businesses all over the country.
Thornley Parisi said the center provides training to the Guard, which the fighter wing noted when they responded to the letter. In a statement, they wrote in part, "When an incident is reported, our #1 priority is to take care of the victim and ensure they are protected, treated with dignity and respect, and provided support, advocacy, and care. Our organization actively encourages a culture of reporting and seeks to foster an environment where victims feel comfortable coming forward." The allegations are being watched far up the chain. U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin writing to a major general with the Air Force, making sure they're looking into the matter and asking for a written response detailing the investigation. Thornley Parisi said she worries an internal investigation in a self-governing body is not enough, but hopes this time will be different.
I'm not entirely optimistic that anything will change, but I hope I'm wrong.
Senator Baldwin could not meet with us today, but in her letter to the Air Force, she said if there is a culture of sexual harassment at Truex Field, it's imperative steps are taken to expose it and that action is taken to ensure a safe and appropriate work environment.
Amy Reed reporting tonight. Amy, thank you. The roof on the Bradley Center will come down Sunday morning. Contractors are using a targeted explosive to demolish the roof, which will essentially separate and lower the roof from the rest of the building. As a precaution, contractors say vibration monitors have been installed at historic Turner Hall across the street, and the Bradley Center will be soaked with water to help with dust. Still ahead tonight at 10, temperatures will be falling as the week goes on, but this unseasonably warm weather is putting a damper on some winter activities.
And why local breweries say the current government shutdown is bad for beer. Welcome back. Giordano's, the popular Chicago-based deep dish pizza chain, intends to open a location in Madison. At one point, Giordano's did have a location in Milwaukee, but that closed back in 2002. There are currently none in Wisconsin, so the future Madison location will mark a return to the state. According to the restaurant's website, it also plans to bring a location to Kenosha.
If you like beer and wine, you might not like this news. As the government shutdown enters its third week, local breweries are sharing how they are impacted. Many breweries who label and distribute bottles cannot get their labels approved by the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. The Delta Beer Lab is set to open here in Madison in February and say they won't be able to sell cans when they open. Other places like Full Mile Beer in Sun Prairie are filing their taxes for the first time. We spoke with the owner who says when he called to ask for help in filling out his taxes for the brewery, no one was there to help.
We filed our taxes the way we thought we should and submitted them, and if they're wrong, I'm sure someone will tell us at some point. But
other breweries around the country have reported they can't sell any new craft beers they brew until the government shutdown ends.
Warm weather will delay the opening of the ice castles in Lake Geneva. They were originally scheduled to open January 10th, but warm weather and rain have damaged them multiple times.
It's still impactful. It's definitely some of our businesses have felt a little bit of the stress of, the weather, going up and down and not having snow or not being cold enough to do some things.
Castles set to open in mid-January and then remain open until the spring.
Meteorologist Dave Caulfield joins us now with a look at our first alert forecast. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Charlotte. Yeah, it can be tough for a lot of these businesses that depend on the weather doing what it's supposed to do, especially after we've had one of the warmest starts to January on record in Madison and across much of southern Wisconsin. The good news for some of those businesses is that wintertime temperatures will return for the next couple of days with highs in the 20s, and a little bit of snow is possible by the time we get to late Friday and Saturday. Nothing life-changing, but enough maybe to get a coating. And I think we can all start with that and build up as long as we don't get too much all at once. I think we can be happy with that. Doppler track showing a little bit of snow on our radar as a cold front continues to move through the region, but this is just flurry activity. It's really not going to make an impact on our weather, and we really have not had that much snow at all this winter so far, but also in the month of January, barely any. About a half an inch of snow has fallen so far, and there's a lot of the month left to go, but if it did end today, January that is, we would be in second place all time for the least snowiest winter. The only January, I should say, that we didn't get any snow was 1903, where all we picked up was a trace. That's hard to say with all those adjectives and superlatives that you need to include in there. Hopefully we do get a little bit more snow before the month is up. Not for tonight, though. Downtown Madison, the Edgewater Skycam looking at mostly cloudy skies. Today's high, believe it or not, was actually in the 40s. I know with that wind, it really didn't feel like it for much of the day, but we still ended up about 15 degrees above normal for this time of year. 43 the high in Janesville, 41 in Watertown, still in the upper 30s for high temperatures in the Dells, still about 10 to 15 degrees above normal, though. Right now, those temperatures kind of sliced in half. We're at 21 in Madison, 27 in Janesville, 21 in Boscobel, Lone Rock, and Mineral Point. That's about 15 to 20 degrees cooler compared to this time yesterday, and those wind speeds are still kicking out of the north and west at about 15 to 25 miles per hour, making it feel like the single digits across the area. And for the kiddos tomorrow, it will be a cold start to our Wednesday. Off to school forecast, temperatures in the teens, but it could feel like below zero outside when you factor in that wind chill. And heading home will be windy and colder. Temperatures only getting into the low 20s, so it will be our first day of 2019 with high temperatures below normal for this time of year. So that will be a change for some of us. And future track showing the clouds on the decrease for a lot of tomorrow. I think we'll get a fair amount of sunshine. Even with that sunshine, highs will only be in the 20s. Then partly sunny skies, more seasonable weather on the way for Thursday with temperatures in the mid-20s. And as I mentioned, it could feel like below zero for much of southern Wisconsin as we head into tomorrow. A quick look at your 7 to 10 day forecast. As we can see, those temperatures are in the 30s by Friday and Saturday. A little bit of light snow and flurry activity possible Friday night into Saturday. But then those temperatures are back into more mild territory in the mid 30s for Sunday and Monday. And then by Tuesday, those highs are closer to 40 degrees once again.
All right, Dave, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. The Packers' new head coach arrives in Green Bay tonight, ready to start his new job. The story coming up in sports.
Matt LaFleur is officially named the 15th head coach in Green Bay Packers history tonight. We'll hear from the new head coach in his first news conference at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. LaFleur and his family arrived in Green Bay this evening, went right to Lambeau Field to get some final paperwork done tonight. LaFleur is a native of Mount Pleasant, Michigan. He was a quarterback at Saginaw Valley State in college. He's getting a 4-year contract with the Packers with an option on a 5th year. The 39-year-old LaFleur is married and has 2 children, both boys. In some other news tonight, looks like LaFleur will keep Mike Pettin on as defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy isn't pursuing any other job than the Jets head coaching position and won't consider anything else. Arizona hires Cliff Kingsbury as head coach, and Tampa Bay gets Bruce Arians. Badgers offensive coordinator Joe Rudolph is interviewed for the head coaching position at Temple. Bruce Feldman reports Rudolph was very impressive in that Temple interview. Rudolph played offensive line for Wisconsin in the early 90s. He's in his 4th season as UW's offensive coordinator. He's familiar with the landscape out east. He was offensive coordinator for Paul Chryst at Pittsburgh in 2012. Big Ten men's basketball tonight. Purdue lost by 18 at 6th-ranked Michigan State. Purdue plays at Wisconsin Friday night at 8. As far as the Badgers are concerned, they dropped out of the polls this week, but they're in pretty good shape, really. Wisconsin is 3-1 in the Big Ten, and head coach Greg Gard says for the most part, this team has been pretty solid so far.
You know, other than a bad half at Western Kentucky defensively and the bad half offensively the other night against Minnesota here, we've been fairly consistent. For the most part, we've had some ebbs and flows within halves, but we were really good defensively at Penn State. So for the most part, like I said, other than maybe a half, this group has understood what their identity is and has played pretty well.
Boys high school basketball tonight. Columbus travels to Monona Grove, where the MG band is there to greet them. The Silver Eagles' Caden Nelson is known for breaking some ankles, and that's how he does it. MG up 2 at half, but the Cardinals come away with the win. Play him tough tonight. Adam Zahn gets the baseline, feeds Ben Emler for the basket, and the final score is Columbus 60 and Monona Grove 53. We'll see the Silver Eagles on our Prep Mania Game of the Week Thursday night at Stoughton at MG. John Boyle and I will bring you the game live on channel3000.com Thursday night at 7:15. Are the Brewers going to get pitcher Madison Bumgarner from the Giants? The Giants and Brewers are said to have serious communication, and the Brewers appear to be the most engaged team in trade talks. GM David Stearns showed last year he's not afraid to make deals, as in trading for Christian Yelich. And getting Bumgarner would certainly be a signal the Brewers are going for it again in 2019. And Padraig Harrington was named the European captain for the 2020 Ryder Cup today. Why should you care? Because the 2020 Ryder Cup will be played at Whistling Straits in Wisconsin. They haven't named the United States captain yet, but it would be a shock if it isn't Steve Stricker. Can you imagine Stricker, the U.S. captain in his home state? Sounds like a perfect match. But it hadn't happened yet. And we'll be right back.
The bank there. It was actually
Dave's here with the final check.
Still quite windy overnight with wind gusts of about 30 miles per hour possible, and wind chills right now already in the single digits basically across the board for southern Wisconsin. Some of us could feel like we're below zero in the temperature department to start off our Wednesday morning, and by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, a little bit of snow is possible.
All right, Dave, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.